Keg back with another Sports Keg UFC breakdown. UFC 278 this weekend. We'll break it down top to bottom, see if we can find a few angles, and try to get the bag. Subscribe to the Discord. I will get yelled at if I don't say that. Go over to the Sports Keg Twitter account right now. The pinned tweet is a link to hop in the TSK Discord. I encourage everybody to do it. All my plays will be there moving forward, plus on this YouTube channel. I'll still continue to do content, obviously, for Run Pure, but I won't be on the spreadsheet after the end of the month. So that's where you're going to want to be to get my plays for football, NASCAR, and MMA. All right, so let's break it down. Oh, yeah, hit the like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't be a mutt. All right. So UFC 278, we had 13 fights, I think. Now we have 12. No Miranda Maverick against Young. Unfortunate, but what are we going to do? All right, so we'll start with the prelims and just work it down. Amir Albazi, Francisco Figueiredo. Oh, yeah, I'm going to sound for the foreseeable future like I have a lisp out of nowhere because I'm getting I have a few teeth I have to get pulled, and I'm getting permanent dental implants put in at the bottom. So I'm going to sound like Mike Tyson probably, at least for a little football season. But it is what it is. What are you going to do? All right. Francisco Figueiredo, Amir Albazi. Yeah, so Figueiredo, really nothing like his brother. He doesn't have the speed, the power, the durability, the cardio that his world champion brother does. And we have a couple flyweight fights on this card where one side of the fight just doesn't have the cardio for the weight class. And this is one of those fights. Francisco Figueiredo doesn't have the necessary cardio to really be a factor in this division. You need to be able to go 15 minutes in your sleep at 125 pounds, okay? And if you can't, then you're in a bad way. And the fact is, Davison Figueiredo's little brother cannot do it consistently, if ever. So his takedown defense is also, I think, super suspect as well. And that's really not where you want to be when you're fighting Amir Albazi, because his pace, his wrestling, his submission game, and his cardio are real assets for him, especially in this fight against Figueiredo, who will probably only be able to deal with relative solid cardio for the first 7 minutes of the fight, maybe the first round and the first 90 seconds off the stool. You'll probably that's about the limit of Figueiredo's cardio. And then at that point, it really should just be like a boulder rolling down a mountain, because Albazi should get faster and better as the fight goes on. Now, it's been a long layoff, obviously, for Amir Albazi, about a year and a half since we last saw him about Zhalgas Shumagulov. But I'm excited. I like this kid. I'm excited to see where his game has progressed the last 19 months. So that should be cool. He's now 28 years old. He's just entering his prime. And we should see him pick up where he left off and even be more advanced, I would think, in some skill. Preferably, I'd like to see it on the feet. but he should be better. So the odds open offshore, Albazi minus 300. Since then, he's taken about $2 worth of money. I mean, can Figueiredo catch Albazi in something? Can he catch him on the chin? Yeah. But if Albazi, I think as long as he's smart here, he should win this fight relatively easily. I mean, he's a 6-time BJJ national champion, and I think that back class and a smart game plan should carry the day here. Now, how to bet him, I think, is slightly tougher. My gut says that he wins by decision, but I don't think there's a ton of value at plus 110. If I was looking to get involved here, I think I would probably take the shot on him by submission at plus 300, or maybe Albazi in round 3 or by decision in minus $1.15. I guess I don't mind that. Aside from that, though, straight pass for me. All right. Next fight. Arichi Lang, Jay Perrin. So neither of these fighters really have me excited to back them with my money. This is one of the fights on this card that I probably don't have a great read on it. I think both fighters are relatively close in the odds for a reason, and it makes sense to me. They both no, Johnny. I'll get to that fight. They both average over 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. They both have a 60% takedown accuracy. If you look at the Cody Durden fight, Arichi Lang was taken down pretty much at will by Cody Durden. So, like, would it shock anybody if Jay Perrin comes in here, closes the distance, and takes Arichi Lang down multiple times in the first 10 minutes? Wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me at all. I think Jay Perrin, when you watch him strike, he doesn't look particularly bad, but he usually finds himself on the wrong end of a lot of exchanges in the pocket. So I would probably give Arichi Lang the advantage on the feet, although I think it's very hard to put Jay Perrin away. We've seen him get hit with bombs and shrug it off relatively easily. He's never been knocked out before in his career, and I don't think Arichi Lang will be the first fighter to do that, especially when you consider how he handled the damage at 135 pounds. So the odds open offshore, crazy wide. Arichi Lang was minus 300. That number on Perrin was a gift if you saw it. But like right now, I think he's currently about minus 140. Lang, comeback on Perrin around plus 120. I agree with the move. I couldn't take Perrin at that price now. If I was talking to Gavin about this fight the other night on text, if I was going to get involved, it would probably be on his decision prop at plus 250. I know Gav likes the submission prop at 8-1. I don't mind it if you want to throw a couple bucks on that. I guess I wouldn't mind it. But I feel like the best chance that Perrin has to cash a ticket is probably by decision, I would think. So, aside from that, though, pass. Daniel De Silva, Victor Alto Morano. So I assume no matter where you go to get the fight breakdown for this fight, the common thread will probably be the same throughout. And that is if Daniel da Silva, Lacerda, Concerta Maria, whatever the fuck his name is, was able to keep the pace he has in the first round of fights, he would be a much tougher out in this division if he had the cardio to go a full 15. Unfortunately, for da Silva, the one thing that you need, like I said, at this weight class is cardio. You need an engine that doesn't stop, because most flyweights don't stop. If anything, they have cardio. So you are at a huge disadvantage off of Jump Street if you're da Silva in this fight, because he's got cardio for 6 minutes. On the feet, I would probably give him a small edge towards da Silva because of his hand speed and his technique. But that advantage is only going to last a round. On the ground, I think he's serviceable for sure. He had Jeff Molina in big trouble early in that fight before Molina took over and ended the fight by ground and pound. But he's dangerous on the ground. Listen, all in all, I think that his skill set is good. It's not bad. He just doesn't have the cardio to go more than one round. It's really poor. Really poor. Alto Morano, former flyweight champ at LFA for a bit, kind of the opposite of da Silva. He is one of those Mexicans that start a little slow. They continue to build throughout the fight. By the time you get to the third round, they are a fucking problem. And that's pretty much any Mexican that gets into a cage, really. His durability and cardio, two major advantages that he has in the fight. On the feet, he probably won't be the better striker in the first round, but I think he'll be the better striker in the second and third round, probably, once the cardio starts to wane. And I think once that happens and he gets into the second half of the fight, he should take over this fight. I rate his grappling slightly higher than I do da Silva's. But again, it will be exacerbated the longer the fight goes. And that's really the overarching theme in the fight. The longer the fight goes, the more fucked Daniel da Silva is, period. So the odds open offshore, Alto Morano minus 225. Now he sits around minus 160. I agree with the early line move because he should have never been minus 225, Alto Morano. The current line seems more fair. From a betting perspective, I'm not going to bet it pre-fight. There are a few spots on this card. This fight, the Gordon fight, are probably my two favorite live betting fights. This is one of them. Oh, and the Santos fight too. Well, I said that, the Gordon fight. So I'm going to hope that da Silva comes out fast and hard like he usually does and wins the first round. We're going to hope for that. And then I'm going to get on Alto Morano live, probably at decent plus money. Because I think he should win the second and third round. I think he should. So that's probably what I'll do. Hope da Silva can get the first round and live bet it. Aside from that, no one angle stood out to me that was like, oh man, I have to bet this. There wasn't really an angle in this fight. But the pick is Alto Morano. I'm just going to try to get on him live. All right, AJ Fletcher, Ange Losa. So listen, man, Ange Losa looks way more physically impressive than his actual MMA acumen is good. Like, was there hype around him back in the day as a kickboxer? Yeah. But if you look at his performances on the UFC level, they are subpar. Before the UFC, the biggest promotion that he had fought in was probably LFA. One fight there, drops a split decision loss to John Thompson. So, like, will he have the advantage on the feet in technique and volume? Probably. But if Fletcher connects, he has just as much power, I think, as Losa does. On the ground, I think that Losa's takedown defense isn't bad. You know, he isn't any type of submission threat on the ground, but if he gets top position, I think his ground and pound is okay. But nothing there. I don't like anything about this guy. I'm not going to lie to you. I just don't like this guy. I don't think he's that good. AJ Fletcher comes in off the first loss as a pro, last time out against Matt Semmelsberger. We were all on Semmelsberger in that fight on the live show. But if we're being fair, Fletcher looked good in a tough fight against a really solid Matt Semmelsberger, especially in the first round. He won that first round. He dominated that first round. You can see with this kid that, like, he's raw, but there is a great foundation for him to turn into a legitimate fighter, I think, in this weight class. He's a wrestle boxer that has no true background in wrestling, but his control game is pretty comprehensive. He's pretty good on the ground. He transitions well, scrambles well, and while he will probably be at a disadvantage on the feet slightly, he can hold his own enough to disguise takedown attempts. And I think if he gets those takedown attempts, he's going to be successful. So, like, the odds open offshore, Fletcher minus 190. Since then, Losa has taken about 30 cents of money. One of these guys doesn't excite me at all, especially with how bad Losa looked against Lazez. He wasn't even close, man, in some of those spots that had him overextended big time. If that happens here, I think Fletcher gets the takedowns, at least wins 2 of the 3 rounds on takedowns and control time alone. So I wouldn't be looking to back him at minus 160, but I don't mind the number on his decision prop at plus 150. The over 2.5 rounds is almost minus 200. I mean, that basically tells you that there's some value on that prop at plus 150 for Fletcher. So aside from that, though, I don't see a ton in this fight that I like. All right. Let's see what we got. Sean Woodson against Luis Saldana. Yeah, I mean, listen, with the exception of that Darce choke loss to Julian Erosa, Sean Woodson's been relatively flawless during his UFC run. There's a ton to like about his stand-up game. He's so long, so tall. It gives him the ability to really hurt people from way outside. Way outside. He's a dynamic kickboxer. He fights smart, and he has good cardio. He lands about six significant strikes per minute. So you know his volume will always be there. And his striking defense is pretty sound. On the ground, I think he's far from a wizard, but his takedown defense has been relatively solid thus far. For Luis Saldana, the first giant hurdle for him in this fight is his own conditioning. He just doesn't have a gas tank for the third round at all. Is he more of a complete fighter than Sean Woodson? Probably, when you consider that he's got a big wrestling advantage, probably. But his defensive striking is a liability. Even though, like, he has a winning record in the UFC right now, if you watch the tape, he leaves himself wide open sometimes. And when you look at the competition that he's faced so far in his career, it's really, 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 really low level for Saldana. And he's looked okay against them. Not great. It's a step up in competition for him, no doubt. Odds open offshore, Woodson minus 300, closer to minus 340 now. So I think that Sean Woodson deserves to be the favorite here for sure. Should he be a $3 favorite? I don't know. It's probably dog or pass from a money line perspective, but I can't back Saldana here. Woodson's striking advantage is just too big for me. The hard part is that there's no guarantee that Woodson knocks him out. So, like, it wouldn't shock me in the least if he won this by decision. It wouldn't shock me. The odds that they have on the fight are making you have to pick a side. Do you want to take him by knockout? Do you want to take him by decision? That's really not where I want to be when I'm betting MMA, if I can avoid it. So I'm going to lean with Woodson by decision, but I'll probably avoid this fight altogether. That could change if the boys on the live show sell me on something tomorrow, but probably not. All right. What's up, Clint? Otter, Gerardo, Johnny Boy, Fredo, signed, Corey H. Let's go. All right. Leonardo, Santos, Jared Gordon. So it's not the best look when you get finished by Clay Guida in 2021. That's like really fucking bad. Really, really bad. But, I mean, that was the case the last time we saw Leo Santos in the cage. I mean, the story on this guy has been the same for a while. He has some, explosive power, little bit of a dynamic striker. He can hurt you. He's got a legitimate black belt submission game that could finish you from anywhere, right? However, he's a two-pump chump. He's got 5 minutes. If he can't get it done in 5 minutes, he is fucked. Super fucked. Like, that's just his MO. I mean, he's a totally different fighter in round 2 and 3 because of how bad his cardio is. It's a big problem for him the better the competition gets. Jared Gordon steps into the fight, right? He's a $3 favorite because he's a wrestle boxer that can set a serious pace. And if he doesn't get finished in the first round, he will be an overwhelming favorite to win this fight in rounds 2 and 3. Whether he finishes them, could from pure exhaustion. We've seen that already. Or whether he just grinds them out, he's an overwhelming favorite to win the rest of the fight if he is fresh and conscious going into the second round. Period. Listen, Now, that being said, Jared Gordon has lost 5 times in his career, 4 times by knockout, once by sub. He will be in danger early in this fight simply because of how fast Santos comes out of the gate. He just adrenaline dumps his entire game in a 5-minute span. So the best way to approach the fight is live, okay? You got to hope that Santos takes the first round convincingly while he's being made to work. If that happens, we should be able to get a solid discount on Jared Gordon, and we hit the button going in around 2 and 3, period. That's it. If you don't approach it that way, I think the best way is to try and get a price on Santos to get a first round finish. He's 8-1 to win the fight in the first round. 8-1 to win by sub or knockout. That's not bad. I don't mind a small play on that. If you want to take a piece, if it wins, great. If it loses, it's a minimal investment anyway. Who cares? And you could focus trying to get Gordon live if he lost round 1. But aside from that, I just don't see it. I don't really see an angle in the fight. So we'll go with that. All right. Marcin Tybura, Alexander Romanov. From a money line perspective, this is a clear dog or pass spot, right? Am I running to the window to bet Marcin Tybura? Not really, because I don't think he's very good. But it's a dog or pass from money line perspective. I like Romanov. I still think he's super raw. Like he still has a lot to learn. But it's hard not to like him because you really don't see that type of just pure brute strength in the cage that often. Like he literally fucking pole vaults 6'4", 250-pound dudes. Like they weigh up, like they're Brandon Moreno. It's fucking nuts. But, you know, there are some red flags too. I mean, he's literally fought nobody. Like nobody. If you look at his opponents, they aren't just bad. They are god-awful opponents. So, like, that's number one, okay? So he has not cut his teeth against anybody worth their salt yet. For this reason, I can't wait to fade this guy one day. But is this the spot? I'm not sure. On the feed, I probably give Marcin Tybura the advantage. But is the difference so big that Romanov won't be able to close the space and attempt takedowns? No, I don't think so. It's not that big. And I think that if he gets his hands on him, he's going to be able to get him down. So in the end, the fight comes down to, can Romanov get the takedown? I lean that he can. But saying that, you know, Tybura has a solid submission ground game. And also, the longer the fight goes, the better the chances that Tybura's cardio outlasts Romanov's cardio, right? Because that's another thing that we don't know about Alexander Romanov. How good is his cardio? We've seen him start to slow down, for sure. And we haven't seen him in a bunch of third rounds yet. So, you know, there's an argument to be made that if this fight gets past the halfway point, shit could happen. The odds open offshore, Romanov minus 360. We haven't really seen much movement at all. In the end, if this fight stayed on the feet, I would be a lot higher on Tabora. It would make me be intrigued to possibly taking the shot. I'm going to pick Romanov, though. It's his best level of competition thus far, but I think he's going to get the takedowns. And if he does, I think that he will end this by ground and pound stoppage. That's my gut. I don't know what the price is, though. Let's see what the price is right now. Plus 170. It's not awful. Stevie B just giving out Major League Baseball fire in the Sports Keg Discord. Have yourself a month, Steven. Let's go. Yeah, so the pick will be Romanov by knockout plus 170. But if you told me you took the shot on the dog here, I wouldn't be mad at you. I wouldn't be mad at you at all. All right, Tyson Pedro, Harry Hunsucker. I was watching somebody break this fight down earlier this week, and they were like, he has suck in his name. And I was like, he does. So, listen, it's very hard to find a reason to back Harry Hunsucker, okay, when you consider how he's looked on the UFC level, right? Drops the Contender Series fight, then he loses to Tuivasa, loses to Justin Tafa, right? All three fights, first-round knockout losses on the UFC level. Not a good look, right? He's got some power. He's a DFS player's dream. 7 wins, 7 finishes, all 5 losses by knockout. So that's what you want to see when you're trying to find somebody you want to back in DFS. Tyson Pedro, he comes in off the win against Villanueva back in April. But before that, we hadn't seen him fight since December of 2018. Now, he looked okay against Villanueva. He didn't look great, right? He got the win over a bum, but he was patient to a fault in that fight. He barely threw anything in that fight aside from leg kicks. So he's always been relatively low volume, and I've never really liked Tyson Pedro much. And it doesn't look like he's really changed all that much. Still relatively low volume. Did not throw his hands at all in that Villanueva fight. So the odds opened absurd. Pedro minus 750, which is just a joke. And he stayed around there for the most part. Listen, at the end of the day, Tyson Pedro should not be an $8 favorite against anybody in the UFC. Okay? So is Harry Hunsucker bad? Yeah, he sucks. Is he probably going to lose? Probably. But is he worth the bet? Probably. Because Tyson Pedro, that line is a joke. But listen, when you have power and you're fighting a guy that's had one fight in basically 4 years, and he almost threw 0 punches, you take the dog or you pass the fight. If he wins, It's probably inside the distance, so you might as well take the plus 800 by KO if you do take the shot. I will probably pass, unless we're up money and we're fucking around on the live show. Maybe. Doubt it, though. But yeah, aside from that, pass. All right. So Wu Yanan versus Lucy Pudilova. Fuck it. I'm coming in hot. Are you fucking kidding me with this fight? Listen, the fact that this fight is on the main card of a pay-per-view where we will pay our actually hard-earned dollars grinding that fucking 9 to 5 that you're grinding. You will pay that so you can watch this shit show is absolutely astounding. Okay? B. The fact that a legend like Jose Aldo will have to watch this fight while getting ready to fight immediately after is like sending somebody to fight after being waterboarded. He's a fucking legend. How do you do it to him? And number 3, anybody watching this video right now can drive into any Waffle House across the country, 2 a.m. in the parking lot. You will find 2 women staying at the local trailer park that will put these 2 women to shame. This is what we're doing in 2022 for $74.99? Come on, bro. Come on, bro. It's disgusting. Fuck. All right. So we're on the split prop here. Yeah. So this week I saw the lowest women's split price that I've seen in the last year. They're going to eventually price us out of the market here, but in a fight where the odds are basically a coin flip, the plus 330 price on the split is probably still a gift. But I would be lying if I didn't say that it's starting to get concerning. They're eventually going to price us out, but I bet nothing else in this fight at all. I wouldn't advise anybody to get involved in this fight at all besides that prop. But yeah, as far as a pick on who wins this fight, I don't know. Hold on. Lucy Pudilova. So we'll go with Lucy Pudilova. All right. Jose Aldo, Merab Dvalishvili. So let's start here. Jose Aldo is still Jose Aldo. The reason why some people have this narrative that he isn't the same fighter and he's on his way to being washed, and if you think that, I think you're really lost when it comes to the sport. Is he 150 years old in fight years? Yeah. But he's 35 in real life. And he's still in his prime. Or at the very, very, very tail end of it. I mean, look at his losses since 2005. and you'll see one fighter that won't end up in the Hall of Fame. Okay, he lost to Holloway, he lost to McGregor, he lost to Volkanovski, and he lost to Jan. All 4 Hall of Famers. They will be since 2005. He has 1 loss against Marlon Moraes, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. But his wins over Rob Font and Chito Vera are very impressive. Look at what Chito has done to the rest of the division. His last loss was against Aldo. I mean, look how good Font was going into that fight with Aldo. Derailed that train too. In a 3-round fight, his striking game and cardio combination is still elite. His cardio holds up well for 15 minutes. And his fight IQ is as good as anybody in the history of the division, probably. On the ground, he can roll. He's got a solid ground game, but he's only got 1 submission in 38 pro fights. So we know what Jose Aldo is, right? But his takedown defense is fantastic. And that's what he's going to need in the fight. He needs to stay on his feet. When you consider the amount of fights that he has in the UFC, and you consider that his takedown defense is north of 90%, that is fucking ridiculous. Like Frankie Edgar, 10 rounds, 2 for 22 on takedowns. That tells you everything you need to know, man. Now, his opponent, Merab Dvalishvili, he's looked good since joining the UFC, but he's also beatable. I mean, like, the fact that we're talking about this guy, like he's not beatable, the fucking guy's lost 22.5% of the fights that he's been in. He's beatable. Okay? His striking game, and specifically his striking defense, is horrific. He should have lost that last fight against Marlon Moraes. I mean, he got dropped 3 times in the first round, and that fight should have ended. But he rallied. He got the win. There are huge concerns for Merab Dvalishvili in the fight. For as long as this is on the feet. On the ground, he has great top control, okay? Now, that 7 takedowns per 15 minutes number is bullshit. He had 26 takedowns in 2 fights. If you look at what he's done as the level of competition has gone up, he's averaging closer to 3 takedowns per 15 minutes. His last 3 fights. So the odds open offshore, Aldo minus 170. That line has flipped. Dvalishvili now around minus 135. It comes down to, do you think Merab gets the takedown consistently? Do you? If you do, you're on his side. If you don't, you're on Aldo's side. I think Merab struggles. He might get him down, but he is not going to have the success that he's used to. Not against Aldo. And on the feet, if it does stay, he will get destroyed. If this was a 5-round fight, I would give Merab a way bigger advantage in this fight. And I probably would have been on him because I think that he would handily win round 4 and 5. But man, after watching what Marlon Moraes did to him, if he can't get the takedowns, he's in a bad spot. So the decision prop at plus 200, well, now it's plus 260. So I'm going to bet that for a unit. And I'm also going to take the KO prop for probably a third of a unit at plus 550. You basically make a couple units either way, as long as one of them happens. I like Aldo here. I do. Because I think he's going to be able to stay on his feet. So, give me Aldo. All right. Paulo, Costa, Luke Rockhold. So, people that are in the TSK Discord, this was the first bet that we made this week on the sheet. My crew, everybody, we were all basically waiting for the line to drop. And then it finally dropped. So we got the opening number on Paulo Costa by knockout, TKO, or DQ minus 140. I also threw some money on Costa to win in round 1 or 2 at minus 105. Listen, Paulo Costa clearly took that loss to Israel Adesanya hard. He thought he was invincible, and Izzy made him realize that he's a human being. Then he comes in against Vettori, misses weight by 1 million pounds, looks terrible, right? But if you've been following him on social, he's shredded, man. He looks as lean as he's looked in a while. He looks motivated. He seems like he's finally in a good place. And he's still an elite striker that is absolutely terrifying in the pocket. So he's also been incredibly durable in the fights that he's been in, where he's taken a ton of damage. Yoel Romero hit him with some bombs, and he just kept walking forward. Did not care at all. So I think that Luke Rockhold is a phenomenal mixed martial artist. Phenomenal. Phenomenal BJJ. Fantastic striking game. Sick cardio. Very good fight IQ. But that all means dick if you have no chin. And he is in the running for the worst chin that we have seen in the UFC in the last 15 years. Like, he's in the top 5, definitely. So I think that he's gonna get bent over and fucked. That's what I think. I don't see how he gets out of the first round. You're asking him to pitch a perfect game. He can't get hit with more than 3 significant strikes that Paulo Costa really hits the button. He can't get hit more than 3 times the whole fight. Because if he does, it's over. We know that. I mean, we all know. We all see how bad that chin is. Now, can he come in with a grappling heavy game plan? Yeah. Could he win the first round? Yeah. But guess what? You still got to stand in front of him at the beginning of round 2 and 3. And I just don't see it. I just don't see how that chin holds up against somebody that has substantial, earth-shattering, put you in the back of a little yellow school bus for life power. I don't see it. So it's Costa by knockout. It was always Costa by knockout, period, the end. All right, main event. Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards. Interesting fight. Because right now, Kamaru Usman is your number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, right? Rightfully so. I mean, I think Volkanovski's in the conversation. But I get it. But there are a couple things to at least mention. Number 1, although he is the best in the world right now, Leon Edwards has definitely improved more since they last fought. Number 2, Usman broke his hand, had surgery in February of this year. Was he able to properly train? Will he be hesitant? Will he second guess himself when he's throwing that power hand? I don't know. These are unknowns. Number 3, there's a narrative that he will be looking to retire soon, go Hollywood. Obviously, he lands a big role in the new Black Panther movie. Distractions. Distractions are not what you want going into a fight, okay? So there are a couple concerns. But if Kamaru Usman is anything, he is a professional that takes his job very, very seriously. That takes never losing a fight in the UFC very, very seriously. That's why he's the best in the world. Endless cardio, endless fight IQ. He has shown substantial power the last couple of years, knocking dudes out with jabs. And he is a world-class MMA wrestler, period, full stop. All that equals an extremely hard puzzle to solve, okay? Leon Edwards, who has fought and scraped his way into the title picture, winning 9 fights in a row dating back to 2016, finally gets to avenge his last loss in the UFC, which was against Kamaru Usman all the way back in 2015 at UFC on Fox 17. Leon Edwards is a well-rounded fighter, a dynamic range striker, a solid wrestler in his own right, good top control, great cardio, good fight IQ, an improved takedown defense. So there are a ton of things to like about Leon Edwards. And he has definitely improved more since the first time that these two fought. So the odds open offshore, Usman minus 300. Currently sits around minus 380. Listen, I get it. I agree with the line move. If you look at Kamaru Usman lately, okay, let's look at what he's done lately. Knocks out Masvidal. Knocks out Gilbert Burns. He had Colby hurt in the second round. Bad. We should have cashed that knockout prop that night, but we didn't. And he rallied because Covington is a fucking monster, and he was able to go the full 25. But the last time Leon Edwards fought Kamaru Usman did not have the power that he has now. He's legitimately dropping guys with jabs. So at plus 270, I think that there's value on the KO number for Usman. I bet it. I will be looking to get a piece of Kamaru Usman on the money line also. Now, I'm not the fucking Greek that's going to tell the world to lay minus 350 on a favorite, but I will try to at least tie him to something to get him down, to get the price down. As a small hedge on my action, though, I grabbed the small piece of Edwards by KO in rounds 2, 3, or 4 at plus 1,200. Tyler was actually the first person to bring this bet up to me because he likes Leon Edwards to win tomorrow. I think Usman's going to win, but I did bet that at plus 1,200 just for a little hedge on my action because I think that's the only way that he's going to win realistically. But I'm going to try to get Usman on the money line. with something else I like. I did bet the KO prop at plus 270 and a little sprinkle hedge on the knockout in round 2, 3, or 4, 12-1 for Leon Edwards. All right, that's every fight broken down to a fine powder. Well, not like fucking Dan Hardy style, but I gave you an hour about. Coop and I, in about 15 minutes, will go live again to talk NASCAR Cup Series at Watkins Glen this weekend. We're on a road course for Cup, so we will break that race down the best we can heading into P&Q tomorrow. And that's it. Boys, content is back on the YouTube channel. The live betting show will be back on this channel starting September 1st. It will be free for the foreseeable future for now. Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, Saturday UFC, college football, Sunday NFL will be live for the 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock games. And we'll have the NASCAR race on as well for at least the first couple months. So this YouTube channel hasn't had a pulse for 2 years, but you're going to see a lot of familiar faces. You'll see some faces that you don't recognize if you're just coming back to the channel and didn't watch any of my content over at Run Pure Sports. But tomorrow I'll be live at 11 o'clock in the morning on Run Pure Sports, breaking down the fights with the boys over there. And yeah, let's make some money. Feels like a good weekend. Grab a bag. Why not us? I'll see you in about 15, 20 minutes. Later.